Hello friends. Okay, so it's been a while since I've done a story time with Monica. I know not that many people are interested in these, but I find them quite fun to do, so fuck you. I did a little bit of a mini poll earlier on my Facebook about silly stories I could tell of things that have happened in LARP. And the options were rope burn bonding, Wintermark gangster, Duel of the Fates, My Professional Opinion, Murder Hobo Gets a Job, Accidental Assassination Part 1, That Goddamn Corset, Naked Ambition, and The Time We Set Lucy on Fire. I'm not going to do all of them today, but from what I have gathered, rope burn bonding is a favourite of people who've heard it. So I'm going to do that one first and then see what else I can do or have time for. I am technically at work at the moment, so I may have to go at any moment because I've got a Teams call or something going off that needs my attention. If that happens, I apologise, but fuck you. I'm also just going to get my stream up on the laptop because it is nice to see the comment timings on there rather than on my phone, which is not super reliable because of the delay. There we go. Okay, so rope burn bonding. This is a story from the Nemesis 2 event that ran in 2019. It was winter 2019 and Nemesis 2 wasn't a high combat Empire player event, which I was crewing for. It was great fun to crew for and I had a wonderful time. This particular story happens on the Saturday night of the event. I am playing an NPC who is a Druge Tepel. The Druge are the super baddies of the Empire setting. Who the fuck is messaging me? Right, okay, someone's sending me a picture of aliens, that's not important. So, I'm playing the Druge Commander, essentially, is the NPC that I've been given. It's sort of my flagship NPC, because we were all doing little bit parts throughout the weekend, and then there were a few encounters with this particular NPC that was scripted. So she's a Druge Tepel, which is kind of healer slash poisoner slash spy type thing. And I've completely forgotten her name. She looked kind of badass, so I'm there and I've got my orc mask and my green like mantle and looking like some kind of horrible Druge torture thing. And it's late on Saturday night and I'm told by Chris Terry, who was one of the refs, one of the main writers and refs for this, that it's time for a scene in which myself and a small squad of Druge were going to go up on the cliffside at Huntley Wood and torture a human NPC. And the idea was the players were supposed to rescue this person if they could. Fine. About 2 minutes before we're heading out to set up this encounter, I get introduced to my torture victim, and the two people I'm torturing with. Well, I knew the two people I was torturing him with. This was two of my now very dear friends. No, one of them slightly better than the other, but they're both wonderful, wonderful people. And I get introduced to my victim, who is this lad who looks in his sort of early 20s. Chris goes, Monica, meet so-and-so. I'm keeping names out of this to protect the guilty, except Chris, who deserves it. Monica, this is so-and-so. He's going to be your torture victim this evening. So I turn to this lad and I say, nice to meet you. Can we have a very, 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 very quick talk about boundaries before we head out there? Because this is going to be a torture scene where you're going to be being crucified on the St Andrew's cross, and I want to know whether you have any lines that you don't want to cross, because this kind of scene can get weird. The lad goes, I don't have any. Like, no, literally, rip my shirt off and whip me. Sounds great. Let's do it. And I'm like, cool. Okay. Like, you're giving me a lot to go on there, mate. That's fine. So we head up there and we set him up on the St Andrew's cross and we tie him to it with like hemp rope. And myself and my two little Teppel torture assistants get to work torturing this poor lad. And it's very funny. And it goes on. And it goes on. This lad now has 3 fairly attractive women, despite the fact, well, attractive orc women. Like, you could tell we're all hotties, despite the fact we're wearing latex masks over our faces. This lad is dressed in rags, being crucified and tortured by 3 women, while a group of men sit around dressed as Druge heavies, mocking him. And if that sounds weird to you, it's because it kind of was. We all had a lot of fun, and I'm sort of alternating between stabbing this guy, healing this guy, shouting at the other troops. We spent some time mocking the guy playing the sort of scout archer archetype for the Druge, because they are shit on by their society, and that's quite funny. And the scene goes on, and the scene goes on, and the scene goes on. At some point, what we assume is a player turns up on their own to challenge us, and we're like, what? Shouts a challenge for us to come down and fight them, and we're like, why? Like, if this is a ploy to get us away from our prisoner and come and fight you, this is not working, mate. You come here and talk to us. You come here and talk to us. We're reasonable. We're reasonable orcs. We can talk orc to orc. It's all good. No, we totally would have murdered him. Anyway, so that player buggers off. And for 2 hours we are up there torturing this guy. We're miming carving his last words into his flesh. He's being touched, he's being poked and prodded, and limbs being manipulated in all sorts of strange ways. He is screaming and flailing for 2 hours. About an hour and a half into this, we sort of have this moment of, are there any players even coming? And we sort of have a brief OC chat, in which myself and I sort of check in with my torture victim, who, yeah, we've been communicating throughout this whole thing, and I'm like, are you all right? I don't know how long this encounter is supposed to be going on for. We're just kind of amusing ourselves at this point. And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine, although it's getting a little bit chilly out here. It would be nice if we could wrap up at some point, but I assume someone will come and get us when we're done. Like, well, yeah, they might have forgotten about us. We could be up here all night. And he just sort of laughs, and then we carry on torturing him. About half an hour later, one of the refs appears out of a bush. Didn't know he was there. And sort of comes bounding over to us. And says, and we sort of go, oh, hey there. And he wanders over and he says, I've got good news for you. The players have gone. We all look at each other. There were players here? For how long? The whole time. What? Yeah, they were sitting in that bush over there crying. Okay. We laugh. We take our torture victim down and start packing up the encounter because it's ended. We go on a brief detour to find a player who may or may not have gotten lost in the woods. As we're taking a torture victim down off this crucifix, that is my cat whinging in the background. I don't know if you can hear her. She's crowing over, presumed, a catnip hedgehog. So yes, we take the torture victim down off the crucifix, and I'm trying to be nice because I've spent the last 2 hours physically and emotionally abusing this kid, and he hasn't voiced any objections the whole time, which is, you know, fine. I trust that he knew what he was doing and would have told me to stop. I made it very clear that, you know, respect and boundaries and communication is important. We take him down. He's rubbed his wrists completely red raw on the rope from where he's been flailing emphatically, and he's grinning and looks very happy. I'm like, okay. I'm like, are you all right? He's like, oh, my wrist kind of hurt, but you know, it's all right. And he's obviously on an adrenaline high, and I'm there, and I'm trying to do some semblance of aftercare, essentially. Unfortunately, I am still wearing my orc mask as I'm doing this, and I'm trying to talk to this guy and try and convince him he needs to go and get some like ointment for his wrists as we go back down to the crew hut. So I'm doing aftercare as an orc torturer, which in hindsight I should have taken the mask off and reminded him that I was a human. So yeah, the four of us up there on the cliffside that night, I think, bonded in ways we did not quite realise. I have described this scene to certain friends of mine who are rope people. If you know what that means, you know the conversation I've had with them, and they were like, yeah, that sounds really hot. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be, but that's kind of what happened. And none of us were really prepared for that. Like, it's okay, we were all fine. It wasn't sexual in any way, it was just a bit intimate. So yes, I later found out that the lad was, I think, barely in his 20s. I'm coming up to my mid-30s now, so that was weird. And yeah, that was a weird day. Things you can do in LARP: crucify strangers and give them lasting psychological scars. Sorry dude, if you're watching this, I am actually Facebook friends with this person, and I hope he doesn't mind me talking about it. He's probably not watching, he barely uses Facebook. Yeah, that was a great time. A+, would torture again. My two glamorous assistants were also fantastic company, and we all bounced off each other, and it was, yeah, pretty great. I go back to work the next week, they're like, oh, hey Monica, what did you do this weekend? It's like, I crucified a guy and tortured him and then set someone else on fire. My workmates are like, what? Things that only really make sense in LARP. So yes, that is the story of rope burn bonding. So one of the, I think the second most popular comment on this was Wintermark Gangster. So this is the story of the time that I ended up running the moots in Wintermark and Empire for a couple of events for various boring logistical reasons. And I think it was the second event I was doing it. My IC husband had died the previous event, so I'm there and I'm doing the time in moot. For those of you who don't play Empire, a moot in Wintermark is the meeting we have on time in, and we have a couple more throughout the weekend where we essentially catch up as a nation, share our news, talk about any sort of quests and things that are going on, and generally introduce ourselves. So I'm running this, I'm stood in the middle of our camp, I'm surrounded by between 150 and 300 people. I've no idea because people tend to come and go out of these things. And I'm running it, and my buddy Matt is helping me. He's running a sort of queue system for people that have got announcements. So, carry on. And sort of halfway through the short announcements part of it, this lad steps up. And he's wearing full heavy armour, like chain leggings and a chain shirt. He's not armed. He comes out and he says he wants to talk about the character that was my dead husband, who, as I said, had died the previous event. So he wants to talk about this. I'm like, okay. And he decides to start off very, very strongly by essentially decrying my dead husband, which, you know, people can have their opinions. My character, her name is Kendra, she was like, okay, yeah, no, criticism may not be valid, but people are entitled to their opinions. That's my doorbell, motherfuckers. Only luck, this is my wall calendar. Never mind. Right, so lad comes forward and says, blah blah, this dead character was awful and I don't know why everyone's so upset because things and stuff. Okay. Sure. Lad goes on to say he's very, very into this speech he's giving. He goes on to say that he's gone to what my nation empire views as their sacred burial grounds. It's a magic haunted swamp where we slide our dead in slowly for reasons. He says he's gone there and he's taken a shit in it to shit on the memory of this dead character. The Magic Graveyard Swamp has a bunch of roleplay effects on it for various reasons, and is something of a sacred place. Like, yes, it's a body of water, there will be contaminants in it, but you do not go and intentionally take a dump in it to shit on the memory of our heroes. It's dedicated to pride permanently with like magic and stuff. And I'm there and I'm thinking, oh well, you know, that's a bold claim saying you've resisted that area role-playing effect, but sure. But no, you don't literally go and take a shit on pride. So, my character, ever the calm and measured woman that she is, she wields a 5-foot hammer, which is a stick with a big rock on top of it. Reasoned, measured response. She marches up behind this lad who's standing in the middle of the moot, not really paying attention to her, and she smacks him one, and is essentially trying to crush his arms and legs. He's armoured, so it doesn't have entirely the desired effect, but my larp hammer, being a rock on a stick, even if you don't call an effect with it, it's very, very soft, it's very, very nice to be hit with, it's very easy to use, but it has mass. It is a mass of latex and foam on a stick. So when you get hit with it, the sheer dimensions of it, it sort of has innate knockback, especially if you're not expecting it. So this lad goes flying. And he sort of staggers and nearly falls over and gets up and carries on talking, carries on shit talking. So I'm screaming, shut your fucking face, and hitting this kid over and over again. And essentially hammering him out of the moot. This kid got the ban hammer. And I keep hitting him, and at a conservative estimate, I definitely pounded him into his bleed count, at best. I'm not convinced he should have survived it, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So we get to the edge of the circle, and eventually some people hold me back because this kid is now on the floor. I'm still hitting him with the hammer, and some people have managed to sort of grab me by the shoulders and pull me off him. He gets up. He starts shit talking again, at which point my buddy Matt, who's running the queue, turns around and also starts stabbing him with a spear, and just like, did you not hear her? Shut up. We only stopped hitting him because dear old war dad turned up and got the kid back on his feet and said, please stop hitting him, I really want him to come on a skirmish with us. And my character, and Monica to some extent, cannot say no to war dad because he is just one of the absolute loveliest people I've ever met in my life. I'm like, okay, did you hear what he said though? He goes, yeah, I heard it. I got you. I'm like, alright, these are your fucking responsibility now. And I go on and I carry on with my life. So the law in Empire, things that you might expect to be illegal are not illegal, and things you might expect to be legal are not legal. Assault is definitely illegal. Myself and my buddy Matt had just committed a fairly brutal assault on an unarmed Imperial citizen in full view of between 150 and 300 people. There is a scene in the film American Gangster where Denzel Washington's character sees someone on the street who owes him money, and he gets up from his breakfast in his cafe and he goes, excuse me a minute, to the people he's having breakfast with. He gets up, he walks outside, he pulls out a gun and says to this guy, you know, you owe me, you're going to sort this out. And the guy says, no, I'm not. What are you going to do? Shoot me in the street? And Denzel doesn't even respond. He shoots him in the head, turns around and walks away calmly, and no one says a damn thing. Matt and I assaulted an unarmed Imperial citizen in front of between 150 and 300 people, and no one said a damn thing. And that made me feel amazing. This was literally about 15 minutes after time in on a Friday. It was a hell of a way to start. I never managed to check in with the kid to see if he was okay. He kind of had quite a lot of people having a go at him for the rest of that weekend, and I didn't want to make it worse. From either an IC or OC perspective. I heard, I don't know how true this is, that on the Sunday battle he found a convenient wall of Grendel to fall over in and die, but I've got no idea. Yeah, Claire, he did deserve it. Like, I don't know what you expect. You come into a nation after seeing people mourn the death of a character that has obviously had a huge impact on so many other people, and you come in and you shout in front of the whole nation that they were shit and you've taken a shit on their corpse. I don't know what he was expecting. Everyone must be like, oh no, you're right. No, that's not how roleplay works, and that's not how LARP works. And when you stand up and say things like that in front of people, there are consequences. And yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I don't really know what he was aiming for there, but he got his shit kicked out of him, which was quite funny. Yeah, hell of a way to start an event. Did he actually expect applause, Claire? Because that... no. My character got a lot of things, a lot of discussions about that throughout the weekend, with people coming up to her and saying, are you okay? I'm so sorry he said that about your dead husband. And it's not a secret, she'll tell this to people without, like, provisos, but it was never the fact that he had controversial opinions about her dead husband that was the problem. It was the fact that he shat on Pride. He literally took a dump on Pride to denigrate dead heroes. That was the point she had a problem with it, because, I mean, the previous event, someone had come forward in a moot that she was running and had said that he was really sorry for some rude shit that he'd said as my icy husband was dying. And my character went forward and gave him a hug and said, it's okay, emotions were running very high and you're allowed to be upset. People are allowed to be upset. And people say things, and that's okay. Well, that's what my character believes anyway, but words are words, but you say you've gone and taken a shit on our graveyard? No. No. Get fucked, bitch. So yes, that was Wintermark Gangster. The story of the time I assaulted someone in front of 300 people and got away with it. I'm going to do one more, because I feel like I've been talking for a really long time, and I think my storytelling is not as good as it could be today. Don't know. Also, there's a cat on my lap. Say hi, Fenchurch. Hello. I caught this one drinking out of the toilet this morning. The toilet has one of those little lavender toilet rim blocks on it. So we can now no longer leave toilet lids up in this house, because this one cannot be trusted not to drink out of the goddamn toilet. Why are cats? Okay, let's have a look. What else do we have here? A couple of people have said either Naked Ambition or that goddamn corset. I'm going to keep this Empire and talk to you about Naked Ambition for a moment. The event, my character became general of an army. I was run off my feet. I was doing a lot of things all at once and being quite drunk at the same time as well. I did not stop. And on the Friday night, after being made general and doing loads and loads and loads of military game stuff and all these other things, I ended up rolling into bed about 3:30, 4 in the morning. I'm supposed to be up at least 8:30 to go and marshal a battle. I don't know what a battle support, a battle, whatever. Thanks, Fenchurch. So I roll into bed about 4 AM, maybe 3:30. I get an hour or two's fitful sleep, and suddenly I wake up. It was a really, really warm event, so I was sleeping in my big plush bed, in my big plush tent without any clothes on, because it was just, no, I'm not doing that. Cannot deal. So I wake up about 2 hours later, stark bollock naked. And I have one thought in my head, and one thought only, and that is, I need to be in the toilet right now. Now! So I stumble out of bed. I'm still half asleep. I'm still probably drunk from the previous night, because I've been drinking the whole evening. And shouting obscenities about things and stuff. I'm stumbling around. I can't see. The sun has risen, but it's not particularly high in the air. My tent is quite dark inside. I can't find my shoes. I can't find clothes that I can put on quickly enough to get me out of the goddamn tent and over to the loos. I make a split-second decision that I cannot get dressed and get to the toilet in time. I need to pick one. I chose the toilet because I didn't want to have an incident in my tent or right outside my tent. So rather than put clothes on, the new general of the 1st Wintermark Army, the Fist of the Mountains, stumbles out of her tent at about 7 o'clock in the morning, wrapped inexpertly in a blanket that she's pulling around her bare form as she sprints barefoot through the morning dew to go and destroy a toilet. I am really glad that nobody recognises me out of kit when I'm stark naked with a grey blanket very, very hurriedly wrapped around me, because that was not my finest moment. And yeah, Like, I think had I encountered anybody, they would have understood. Sometimes you just gotta go, you know? But yes, I stumbled back into bed afterwards. Sort of, I managed to finish what I was doing and wrap the blanket back around me properly and quietly sidle back to bed for an hour or two. Yes, that was a very humbling moment in my career as an Empire LARP title holder. Do not stay up all night drinking gin and mead. It's not good for you. I mean, or do, but be prepared that there are consequences. So yes, that was story time with Monica. Silly LARP stories. I do take requests for other things. If anyone wants to hear me talk about a subject, I can do. I am home alone all weekend because my housemate has gone away with his brother somewhere, so I'm going to be pottering around the house doing a lot of cleaning and probably talking shit on the internet a lot. I realise I have an audience of about 3 people on here who give a toss what I think at any given moment, but those people seem to enjoy it. And I enjoy talking like this, so deal with it.